Michelle, do you want to go ahead and start?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Carrie. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Well, thank you again for attending the Tabe 11 and 12 updates, the new writing test and more session. Hope you're having a great time at the virtual conference. Miss seeing everyone in person. If you are not familiar with me, the next slide will give you a little bit of information. So I am your assessment consultant from DRC for Tabe. I also work not only in Illinois, but in Minnesota and Wisconsin. I've been with the company for almost 4 years and look forward to partnering with you and your programs. And then I just wanted to share with you as well that it would be great if you have any questions to go ahead and enter that in the chat box. From what I understand, everyone is muted. And I will go ahead and answer all of the questions at the end of the session. And if for any reason, Carrie, you lose me, feel free to get in touch with me. But I think I should be good. I just want to make sure that, if anything happens, just reach out to me and we'll get set up again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so here's our agenda today. We're going to talk about the impact on testing and ease of remote proctoring. I'm sure many of you have been remote proctoring just in general out there, and then of course trying to test in person as well. Also, we're going to talk about getting started with remote proctoring. So that is an option with Tabe 11 and 12 online. We're going to go through some remote testing tips and FAQs, and then talk about the DRC Insight Test Engine, which many of you may be already familiar with the engine. And then we're going to talk about some Tabe updates. One of the updates, for example, is that we now have our writing test available. So that is another subtest that you can use either paper pencil or online, and you can use that as one of the subtests to support your program. And then as long as I don't lose you, we're going to go to tabetest.com. So at the very end of the overview, we're going to go to that website, and many of you may have visited that website in the past, and it just really has a lot of great information. Okay, so for Tabe remote testing, you do have two options here. So we're going to start out with just focusing on the remote testing side of things. So for option one, you would administer the Tabe locator test, which is the non-proctored version of the test. So it does not need to be proctored, with recommendations to follow your state requirements. You can remote proctor Tabe 11 and 12, and then we also offer Tabe Class E. And so I know some programs in Illinois are using Tabe Class E. That is our ESL assessment for adult education, but it's not at this point one of the officially approved statewide assessments, but it is moving in that direction. So you can also remote proctor Tabe Class E. And also Tabe 9 and 10, but I know the state of Illinois overall is not assessing with Tabe 9 and 10. But all of these assessments can be proctored through the web conferencing platforms. And so these options are available now. And then another option, which is option two, is you can remote proctor through ProctorU, and that is also available. So I will go into some information regarding ProctorU. So in September of last year, DRC announced its partnership with ProctorU for Tabe remote testing. And you can find this information on our website at tabetest.com. And as a secure online platform, ProctorU maintains the highest level of exam security and integrity for high stakes programs like Tabe. So in addition to offering the largest certified proctor workforce in the world, ProctorU provides test scheduling, administration, and reporting services in one tool. So it does give you, they give you technical support as well, with guaranteed over 99% uptime. So, ProctorU is a third party proctoring service, and this allows testing centers to quickly and securely administer TABE 11 and 12 to students who need to test from home or another remote location. And these test sessions are created locally in the TABE online portal. If you need a proctor, TABE can be administered one to one with a ProctorU proctor. And then TABE online licenses are available from a current TABE online account. So, really, what we're sharing with you is that you can, of course, proctor through just our proctoring guidelines with TABE 11 and 12 online on your own, free of charge. But that this second option with ProctorU, which is used across the country, it is something you would need to pay for, but it is another option that helps support your remote proctoring experience. And so just reach out to me if you have any questions regarding pricing, or you can also visit our website. Okay. So, remote proctoring is designed to support new and existing TABE online users. And then new remote testing users are encouraged to review the full TABE online trainings prior to remote testing. So, we have all of this information online, but then on a regular basis, actually on a monthly basis, just to share this with everyone, I have ongoing webinars that not only focus on TABE remote proctoring, updates on TABE 11 and 12, really anything related to TABE. And there are always changes going on. So I do have a monthly webinar offering that is available out there. I partner with other consultants within DRC. And so we reach out on a regular basis. So if you are not on my list or you're not getting marketing emails from DRC for TABE, please feel free to reach out to me and I'll make sure you're on the list so that you can have those really, have that access, and it's all free. So it's just free webinars that happen on a monthly basis. And so you can see here that the new remote testing users, again, are just encouraged to access this information, whether you're new or you're still just trying to figure out how to do this. This is where you can access some additional information regarding remote testing. And you can access our remote testing guidelines again at tabetest.com, and you would find that under the TABE resource tab for TABE 11 and 12 and TABE Class E. And then you'll find this information that you see listed here within the remote testing guidelines. So it will go over in detail remote proctoring options, the remote proctoring guidance. So it is a document that will walk you through step by step how to remote proctor TABE 11 and 12 and TABE Class E. Also, instructions for students using the ProctorU service. So you would have that student interfacing information, and then you would have the instructions for examiners using the ProctorU service. So you would have, again, the student side and the test administrator side. Then we also offer TABE remote proctoring FAQs and then a device readiness check. Okay. You can download PDFs of the remote proctoring information for examiner instructions and for student instructions shown here. And this is where you would do that DRC device readiness check. So it's really very straightforward. You would just go to this website listed here, and it would just help as far as making sure that your device is ready. So home computers and acceptable devices can be easily verified for use by going through this DRC device readiness check. You would simply go to the link and then click on the device readiness checklist and then click on the word here. And then you would click on run test, and then that would actually move you through the process of the device readiness check. Okay. To help deliver the best user testing experience when using DRC Insight in remote testing settings, again, DRC recommends running this following device readiness check. And so this is just going through what this would look like when you go ahead and click run test. It does show you the different sections that it would go through. So the following checks are run: a browser check, a device operating systems check, a device type check, device memory check, a device processor check, a connection speed check, a network access check, a device power supply check, and then a screen resolution check. And then also, it's really nice to know. Feel free to reach out to me. You can also reach out to DRC Tech Support, and they can help you with any questions, and they will get back to you, or you will be able to have a live person on the phone and they can walk you through any questions. Okay, so I apologize ahead of time for how busy this slide is. There's a ton of information on here, but this is walking you through the remote testing tips. And so it's just sharing with you that we highly recommend that you simulate a remote test session with your work colleagues before attempting to administer and proctor TABE with students. So we have received a ton of feedback on this, that many programs across the country are doing this. They're setting up that um, fake test session with their colleagues, going through the process so that they're very comfortable with administering TABE test online remotely. So one thing you can do is you can schedule an orientation web meeting with your students a few days before their actual remote test web session. You would go through the online tools training, which I will talk a little bit more about in a moment, and really help them become more aware with their actual remote testing program. And then also allow you as the test administrator to uncover any system issues that they may have and answer any student questions before their actual test day. You can also create a document to stay organized with meeting details, student details, and record any unusual events that occur during testing. You can also provide a test link and login credentials during your web meeting, and only include students who are taking the same form and level of TABE test in the same web meeting. So that's important to remember as well. But all of these various steps are available to you, so that you'll have this at your fingertips when you go through the process. You would assign students to individual private chat rooms, add the student's room number and the number of sheets of scratch paper on your document. And so recently, when we did a remote webinar overview, I had the question from someone, I think it was another educator out there across the country, and they asked, is it okay to offer the remote test and then walk away and get other work done, and then go back when the student is done? And so really, no, we recommend and highly recommend, and actually it's required to be there to watch the student take the test remotely, so that you are aware of exactly what is going on within the test taking process for that student. There are different things to look for, just to make sure that the test is remaining secure. You would not want an iPhone or a phone, any type of digital phone nearby. And so there are rules and regulations related to testing remotely, and we do require that the test administrator be a part of that. Okay, and so that brings me to this next screen here, of managing your web meeting. So students may find a remote testing stressful, and just with a brief introduction, it can really help your student become more settled and ready to test. So here are some guidelines that we recommend in the main meeting. So you have that initial main meeting with the students. You would let the students know that you will have to leave the main meeting to work with students individually. You would let the students know that they cannot stand or leave the room during the web meeting. Explain how to use the chat, or you can raise your hand within this in the software to get your attention if they have questions. And then you would just watch for suspicious activity, such as students moving outside of the camera frame, cell phone glow and reflections in mirrors or glasses, and also explaining to students to let you know when they have finished their tests and how they will be dismissed from the web meeting. And then you would just ask your students to destroy the scratch paper they used during the testing. And then in the private chat rooms, you would invite students one at a time to meet with you in their private room. You would validate the student's identification according to the requirements of your program. And this may include capturing the number of students' government issued ID card, as well as holding that up to the camera or confirming that the correct spelling of the student's name is correct, or other details. So there is a lot of information here, but again, this is all accessed on our website, or you can reach out to me and I can send you a PDF of the information. Okay, so moving on. So here are some general examiner guidelines to support remote testing with Tabe Online. And so again, just as a recommendation to go through the practice. And then also, as far as state approval for remote proctoring needed for WIO funded providers, just making sure that this is approved statewide. From my understanding, yes, it is approved in Illinois. Examiner must be certified to administer TABE online and familiar testing. So that would really be according to the Illinois state requirements for certification. As many of you know, we also do have that online certification offered free at tabetest.com. So that's another offering that you could go through. You can print out your certification, and then that would help move you towards that path of becoming certified. And then also, I think there is statewide testing available as well within the trainers for the state of Illinois. And then also making sure to use a supported web conferencing platform. All of the different platforms that you're seeing out there. We're using Zoom today. So Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams. So there are various web conferencing options out there. You must have a computer audio and webcam capabilities available. And then remote proctoring would be limited for TABE 11 and 12 online to 5 students in one web conferencing session. And then also just remember that that would be 5 students within that same level and that same assessment. So math level D, for example, or reading level A. So whatever that looks like, you would just want to make sure to have students, up to 5 students as a maximum in one web conferencing session. Okay, and then for the remote proctor testing FAQs, we have a lot of FAQs here. I won't read through all of these, but here are just some key things to be aware of here. Again, small groups of 5 or fewer students testing at one time. So of course you can remote test a student one-to-one and then again up to 5. If the internet goes down for students, Tabe Online will bookmark the progress. So there's no worries there if for some reason things shut down. Tabe Online actually does bookmark where the student left off. So the test administrator can go back in and access the test if, at that point that everything shut down. Programs should plan for students to take one test per webinar session, and then reports are available after students complete each test session through the TABE online portal. So you will get those immediate individual proficiency reports online right after the student is done testing and they submit their test results. You'll get that same information you would if they were testing in person with TABE 11 and 12 online. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a tiny bit about the DRC Insight Test Engine. So this is that online platform that many of you are already familiar with, and this is where you would test remotely, or if you are testing students in person, many of you are using TABE Online. This is that same platform that you would use. Here are the various ways you can access the Insight portal. So you can access TABE Online through a web browser, and so you see the different requirements here. Here is the secure website that you would go to, which is that tabe.drcedirect.com. It does require a login and a password, so you do have the test administrator version where you would need that information. So whoever that point of contact is within your program, they would be the one to reach out to if you know you have TABE online, but you do not have access to it. Go ahead and reach out to that person and they can help get that information sent to you via email. You would just need to log in within 24 hours. You should receive an alert via email, and then you can go ahead and create your login and password to TABE Online. It is accessible 24/7, so you'll have information on your students' testing, test administration information, and any reports that you're using to support your program. And then again, just as a reminder, if you have any questions as I'm talking, feel free to enter those questions into the chat box and I will address those questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, so we're really excited. We have a lot of updates going on right now with Tabe 11 and 12 and also Tabe Class C updates. So some of the updates I'm going to go ahead and go through. So we do now have available the Tabe 11 and 12 writing subtest. So this test right now is only available in person. It's not available as a remote proctoring test like the language, reading, and math tests are available as remote proctoring tests. And NRS approval is expected in late 2021 or early 2022. And this is available for levels M, D, or A. There's one level with no locator used. So really, back to that, there's just one level, no locator used, but it is really for those levels of M, D, and A. So not really for levels E or the literacy level L. And then as far as Tape 11 and 12 offline, we do have the initial pilot starting now. So it did start as of February 1st. If you have an interest in becoming a part of that initial pilot, which um, is free. That's something that you could go through. You could practice Tabe 11 and 12 offline. This is great if you would prefer to go offline and have that online experience, but it's not online. So it would be that same um, feel of the DRC Insight platform. There are many corrections facilities that have a big interest in trialing Tabe 11 and 12 offline for that purpose. And then the expanded pilot will be available in summer 2021. Also, we have Tabe as far as qualifying for ability to benefit approval for Tabe 11 and 12. We're waiting on that approval. We're very excited about that as well. And so just to share with you a little bit about that. So we submitted that as of fall 2019. This will allow students to apply for federal or for financial aid for post-secondary enrollment prior to high school equivalency exams. So it's just really great that we are on that path to also provide that opportunity for you to support your programs. And then Tape Class E, but that has now moved to online, and that is our ESL assessment. There are some selected programs I know across Illinois. I'm going to go ahead and admit someone that was trying to get in. Okay, there we go. Okay, so Tape Class C, again, is that ESL assessment, and Form C and D are available for paper and online. So if there is an interest in an ESL assessment to support your ESL learners, please feel free to reach out to me and I can help you with that process as well. We are seeking NRS approval as of fall 2021. And I know that there are some extensions. I just received an update that Tape Class E it will be approved across many states that are currently using it through 2023. And a lot of that has to do with, of course, with COVID. So because there's been just that interruption there, this is still, we're waiting for official approval, but it will be approved in many states and hopefully within Illinois soon. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about TABE and high school equivalency. So TABE is often used with the same population of adult students as they prepare for a selected high school equivalency test. Each of these tests shares the same common underpinning of using the college and career readiness standards as a basis for content and structure. And so TABE 11 and 12 was designed to support a pathway to high school equivalency and beyond. And then TABE can really help support an alternate path to fulfill those state requirements. Depending on the level of TABE, states using this assessment have already assessed many of the same content areas and standards. So just to share with you, we do have some alignments available now. So we have a TABE and HSE concordance table. And so this concordance resource will help the decision-making process by providing a statistical view of how TABE results can provide a readiness predictor to each of the HSE tests. So knowing that we do have those three HSE tests available within the state of Illinois that are approved, TASC, GED, and HiSET, we do have this concordance available. This one that you're seeing here is focusing on reading. And then again, please feel free to contact me if you are interested in receiving a copy of this concordance information. You can also access this document at our website at tabetest.com. And then just to go through this a tiny bit. So for the GED, I know that the GED is a very common HSE, of course, used within the state of Illinois. So let's focus on that. So you can see with a score of 721 with a Tabe 11 and 12 concordance that you are ready for that GED college credit. So that just gives you that information there. At a 627, the GED college ready score, that's that cutoff for that college ready score. And then this would be a minimum passing score 536, which is that Tabe level M. So again, just to repeat that, so a 536 score for this concordance table with a GED, that would be with a Tabe level M. And then for the 627 for the college ready score, that's with a Tabe level D or above. And then with the GED 721, this is at that college and career readiness level. So that higher level, passing level A with Tabe level A, and really being very successful at that level. Okay, so now we're looking at the concordance for math. So specifically, this concordance chart shows how Tabe results for math are related to the math and reading, actually. Here I'm going to admit someone, so just, there we go. And so really this helps with the passing criteria for each HSE test. And so this, again, will provide a directional approach showing the concordance between Tabe 11 and 12 and the predicted passing high school equivalency score. And then again, just to notice that the minimum passing score here is a 537. And again, I'm focusing in on the GED. But it is the same minimum passing score for TASC if you're using TASC or HiSET. Okay, so jumping right in, I'm sure this looks familiar to many of you. We have the various reports available to you from Tabe 11 and 12, and then I'm just going to go through a few of these. So we have the individual profile, and that's the profile that you receive when the student is done testing online. You have the individual portfolio report, and so that gives you comprehensive, detailed information to support the student testing that is very helpful for the test administrator and to help with that overall path of understanding where your student is to support them within your program. We also have the Tabe 11 and 12 locator report, the bulk export. So this is something that you can do at a state level. You can export all of the information and use it in connection with that state level information. We also have the roster group report and the local exporting report. Okay, so this is the individual profile report. And so we're just going to walk through this. So looking at the top half of the individual profile report, you will notice a number of scores, including the number of points obtained and number of questions attempted. The reason there are more points than questions is because some questions are worth more than 1 point. So just to walk through this. Okay, so let's focus on math. We're going to look at the math results, but just to start from the beginning, you have the individual profile report with the student's name. You have the report criteria with the ID, the test name, the report date, the state that the test is being taken in, the district information, and school information. And just to share with you, this is someone that took all 3 tests that are available right now. The writing test is also available to be added to this report, but we're only showing you right now the reading, math, and language. Here's the test date information, and then this is the level that the student placed in. And I also wanted to share with you as far as level M, If anyone on this webinar has also worked with TABE 11 and 12 just as an intake assessment, what we're recommending is to use a TABE level M test. So that is just if you are just using TABE 11 and 12 as an intake assessment, that will give you that ninth grade range information. So I've been getting that question a lot, so I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, so just to go over to math, so you can see the test date, the level, then the total number of points that this student received is, I think, 35. Obtained 31, so this is the total 35, and then 31, attempted 35. And then this is the scale score information. And then we also have the standard error of measurement information here, and then the NRS level. So of course, I know for many of the programs out there, this is very important information as well. And then just to go ahead and focus in on the measurable skills gain information. That is this section over here, and that is designed to measure interim progress made by students during an academic year. And then the N would refer to the student either if they did not have, there was not enough data to measure a gain, or the student did not receive a gain. And a yes denotes that the student received a gain in the academic year. So this is a very important category for many of you to see whether or not that student that you're working with, or as a bulk classroom or program, where are your students following here? So this student did not receive a measurable gain in language, but they did in reading and math. And then just to go through, I can't really scroll down, so it looks like it's a little cut off down here, but you can see the performance on the domains. We have the reading domains and domain information, the math assessment with the various domains, and then it will give you the number of items per domain with the total number of the questions, number of points, and then how many were obtained. So you can see for this particular student, again, they were very proficient. They received 17 out of 18 with a proficiency category rating here for math, partial proficiency in certain areas. So what's really nice is that you can really drill down and see, okay, this is where my student has that partial proficiency. I'll support my classroom instruction on those various areas. Excuse me. And then we also have the proficiency information where they are proficient as well. Okay, so this is going into the scale score and NRS level information. So many of you already have this document. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you do not have this document, or you can find it on our website, the tabetest.com website again. Okay, so just to show you an example here, let's look and drill into the mathematics section here. So if you have a student that was placed into a level D of TABE, they would need to score within a 537 to 595 to be an NRS level 4. So you can see that information here. And then for NRS level 5, the range would be a 596 to a 656. And so you can see that breakout here. Okay, and so this red box within the individual profile for TABE 11 and 12 is highlighting the information that is available for each student on the individual profile report. So we did sort of touch on this a tiny bit, but just so you are aware, again, you have this initial individual profile student information listed at the top. You have the form listed here that the student, it's not actually listed here, but you will see that form information listed. This will also give you the domains that are being assessed, and then also that performance level, that partial proficiency or no proficiency or proficiency. And then the demonstrated skills associated with the domain. So you have the bullet points here with the detailed information regarding the demonstrated skills, and then areas for next focus. So this will actually be available to you where you can use this information again to inform classroom instruction. And this will also help you achieve those gains that are required within many programs. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and look at the sample blueprint. This is available for all levels of TABE 11 and 12 and all subtest areas. But the one that we're looking at currently is the blueprint overview for math. So just for example, on the blueprint, we have color coding from the pie chart with geometry, so just zeroing in on geometry, representing or represented by the color yellow with a 15% focus of this content area within this particular math assessment. So I don't know which level of math this is showing here, but within the blueprint overview, it will give you the table 11 and 12 math level, and then it will zero in with a breakout of the different content areas and the percentages. And so this may be a review for many of you. And all of this information, again, can be found on our website. And so what we are looking at here is the detailed underneath, or it's basically the detail that you would see underneath the pie chart. And so again, we're looking at geometry, which again is that color coded yellow, and it represents the domain and standards on this slide. So we're looking here at that geometry slice of the pie at 15%. It does list out the domains that are being assessed. And so this is level E. It has the standard information, the standard description information, the level, and then it will give you that TABE 11 and 12 emphasis level. So knowing that this particular standard only has a low emphasis level is really good to be aware of. There is a medium emphasis level with this particular standard and domain within geometry, and then a higher emphasis level for this particular standard, and then medium for this bottom standard. Okay, so many of you may be familiar with crowded learning, and this is just something we wanted to share with you as a resource that you can use. It's actually a free resource. So we have a resource section on our website, and today I'm highlighting crowd ed learning. So if you go to the link listed here, this will take you to their website where you can see many free educational resources and tools to support you and your students within the classroom. And I'm not going to take you there right now. I'm afraid I'm going to click out of to and get too far, get lost really within the PowerPoint, but please feel free to take a picture of this. This is a great website. It really helps you prepare your student for TABE testing. It includes lesson plans. Once you have identified the skills that need improvement from all of the TABE individual proficiency reports that we're reviewing today. And there's lesson plans, there's other sources and resources out there, and it's all free. So just to share this information with you. There are also a number of valuable and free resources available at tabetest.com. And so we will go to that website in a few minutes and go through some of these different choices that you can see here. So for example, we have the test blueprints that I just reviewed. We have practice tests, so you can actually send your students to this website. You can also go through the practice tests on your own as the test administrator, as the educator, administering TABE 11 and 12. And then it just gives everyone a really good sense of what does TABE 11 and 12 look like? What are my students expecting? And it helps prepare your students for the test. We also have order forms available. We have sample score reports, and then we always have news and updates on our website as well. Okay, and so this is just a snapshot of the TABE online training videos. These are free videos that are available to you. So you can also reach out to me and I can send this to you, or they are also on our website. And so you can see here, there's an on-demand link. You would just click on that link and it will actually walk you through a tutorial to go over the TABE 11 and 12 online training videos. And really it supports not only 11 and 12, if you're still using TABE 9 and 10, online. It's no longer available in paper pencil, but it is still available online for a limited amount of time. But this is a great way to just go through the videos free of charge to get a better understanding of TABE online. And then here is a list of all of the different titles and the links. So for example, here's a quick start guide training for TABE Online. Here's another one, TABE Online report delivery and the DRC Insight portal. So there are different topics that you can focus in on, and then you can go ahead and watch those on-demand videos. Okay. So we also offer our Tabe webinar series, and this is separate from what I mentioned earlier. So just to share with you as well that I have my own regional team that I work with. I support Illinois, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, but I have sort of a regional team that has an ongoing webinar series focusing on multiple assessments that DRC offers. But we do focus on TABE on a monthly basis. So, again, if you're not receiving that information through marketing or in any way at all, please feel free to reach out to me and I can add you to our list. And so this is just a free support offered to you so that you just have a really good understanding of what's going on with TABE 11 and 12, TABE Class E with our updates, which I mentioned with the writing and also that offline pilot that we're offering that I hope some of you take advantage of moving forward. So, focusing in on this TABE webinar series that you see here, these are available on that tabetest.com website. So, that same website where we have a ton of resources that you can access and go through. You can see some samples here. We haven't had many added recently, but some of these historical webinars can be very helpful. Also, just to share with you, if for some reason you are not able to be a live visitor, so let's say I send out or you receive a regional webinar invite and you go ahead and register. So, and I'm talking about the one that I offer. If you are not able to attend that, you could still register. That way, you will have the PowerPoint and the recorded webinar emailed to you. So you don't have to sit through the live presentation. You can just view it at your leisure, and that way, you have the most updated information available to you. Okay, so this is that what I was talking about earlier, the online tools training. This is also available on DRC tabetest.com website. And so where you would go to access this is you would it says click here. There's a little hyperlinked link right here. So you would click there to do the online tools. And I'm not going to walk through that today, but just so you are aware that they are available and you can, access that information at any time at our website. Okay. So this is just a screenshot of where we're going to go next, but I think I should walk through this just in case for some reason I lose you. Because after I get out of this screen, I'm going to go live in tabetest.com. And then Carrie, if you can just confirm with me when I get to that point and just let me know if you can still see my screen. Uh,
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so just to walk through this before I do that, so you can see this is the home page really for tabetest.com. You have many tabs up here. We have the educators tab, TABE products, resources. So there's a ton of information in here. We have TABE 11 and 12. This is where you're really going to get a wealth of information. It will open up this section over here. You can see the webinars link here, information on task as well as TABE, brochures and marketing support, TABE math, scoring and reporting information. This is where you would find the practice items, the blueprints and testing times. So I know just to share this with everyone too, I know when TABE 11 and 12 online was first onboarded, the testing times were longer. Right now, the testing times are very comparable to every test out there. And they are actually comparable to TABE 9 and 10, which everyone at that time was very familiar with. So testing times have really gone way down. So that's great news. I'm sure everyone on this webinar is already familiar with that already, but just I like to address that. We also have the crosswalk information and then the DRC Insight Portal information listed here. You can also see this is where you would find that certification process. So you could click on this link and you can go through an actual quiz. And you will then, if you score, I think it's 85%, maybe 80% or higher, you'll receive a certification that you can print out. And so there are many programs that use that as their certification process. But of course, there are regulations and requirements according to state. So, but this is something that we offer for free. We also have the online quick start guide and then the online training videos. Okay, and I'm going to move to this screen just so everyone can see this before I jump into the tabetest.com website. And I'm noticing I'm adding individuals into the meeting a little bit later on. So if for some reason you joined later on in the presentation, feel free to reach out to me. I would be more than happy to help you with any questions regarding updates and anything going on with TABE 11 and 12. But here's my contact information. Again, I support Illinois, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. Here's my email, my phone number, and I'm really excited to speak with you. I'm sure a lot of people out there are going through a bit of withdrawal during COVID, and I'm one of them. So, really excited to get back in person and see everyone again. But feel free to reach out to me, and I would be more than happy to help you. So, I'm going to go ahead and escape this. And okay, good. So, are you still able to see my screen, Carrie?
Yes.
Wonderful. Then that was a lot smoother than I had anticipated. So that's great. Okay. So I'm going to just go through this quickly. I did already show you where to find a lot of this information, but here's the home section. This is talking about ProctorU. So this is that remote proctoring third-party resource that I talked about at the beginning of the presentation. And this is something that you would need to pay for. But it can really help support your program if you need that support and you're not able to remote proctor on your own. And just so you know, we have this option again, and the other option would be if you were to follow the DRC guidelines that we have out there for remote proctoring, and that is free. So here's where you can find educator information. And so, whoops, there we go. Okay, so we have preparing for TABE, tips and tricks, and I'm going to click on resources. And so this is where you can go and see um, and access different resources. So we have different PDFs that are saved here and other additional information. Here are the list of TABE products. So we have TABE 11 and 12. And of course, I've been talking a lot about TABE Online, TABE Remote Proctoring, but we still have the TABE Paper and Pencil 11 and 12 available. We still have the TABE Class E paper pencil available as well. But the updates again are, TABE Class E is available online, and we do offer TABE professional development. So I am more than happy to support your program for free if you just need a quick overview of anything with TABE. But then we also have our professional development team that can also do a paid training for you. And then here is the tab where you're really going to find a ton of information. So if you are ever looking for, I would say 90% of the information that we talked about in this webinar, it would be under this resources tab. So you have TABE 11 and 12. Again, you have the crosswalks, the practice items, scoring and reporting, best practices, webinars. I'm going to click on that because I want to see if there are any newer webinars that have been posted. But this is where you would access the webinar series. Okay. So, some of these are from a while ago, but these really are good sources of information that you can access at any time. Here's the remote proctoring information. Here are accommodation guidelines. So this is important for many programs and for your students out there. TABE history, online tools training information. This is where you would find our order forms. And so these are all of the 2021 order forms. So just to make sure, maybe you may have an outdated order form from 2020, you would need to access the updated order form or feel free to reach out to me. There's also planning your order form. If you're new to TABE 11 and 12, this is where you would plan your order. Then we have our TABE blog, and I haven't actually looked at this in a while, but we have a lot of news and articles and a lot of great information here as well. And then we have information on the DRC Insight system, and then feel free to contact us. So hopefully I can get back over here. I'm going to, whoops, no, that's not the screen I wanted. Here we go. Okay, great. Okay, great. So this is my contact information, and that's really the conclusion of the webinar. I'm going to go ahead and click on the chat box and see if there are any questions here. that I can address during this time. So we have about 10 minutes. Okay, so the first question, and again, feel free to add questions in the chat box. So this question from April is there any chance that remote testing will be enabled for test takers using phones? Many adult ed students don't have access to devices other than smartphones. Great question, April. You know what? I don't anticipate that becoming something that is available. And the reason being is that you can do a lot of searching on your phone. I don't know what you're seeing out there. I know there are a couple of other companies out there, and I'm assuming that they're saying the same thing. I know within testing, we need to have that lockdown option where the student is not able to leave the test if they are test taking remotely on their phone. Really the validity and the reliability of the actual responses and the score for that student will not really be valid. But great question. Thank you. Okay, and so the next question here. This might be a question for ICCB. Is the writing test now going to be required? And then I am not aware whether or not, April, that the new writing test will be required. So that is something for ICCB. And I can also contact them and we can have a conversation about that as well. Thank you for your question. And then Brenda Smith had a question. What devices are not accepted for accessing tape? So really a device would be a phone. Overall, a phone is not a good device. It's not approved. And I'm going to admit someone else into mute. Okay, good. Can everyone hear me? I was muted for a second. Oh,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Okay, so right now the device is acceptable. We do have that list online. And then Brenda, feel free to reach out to me directly. I can email that list to you. But most devices, those typical devices that you see out there are approved, but not any phone, like not a phone at all, or an iPhone or any type of Android device. Okay, so we have a question. Would this paper pencil writing test be available with scoring rubric for teacher in order to assist students better? So, yes, that is something that is on our plan moving forward to create. I don't know if we have something available right at the moment, but I do know it's going to align with everything that is being offered for reading and language and math. So, great question. And moving forward, yes, we will have that available to you. Okay, so the next question I have here is, can you elaborate on what it means if a student has a plus or minus after their scale score? Yes, so great question. So if a student has a minus after their scale score, that really means that whatever score, or so within the test that they were taking, let's say it was a level M, um, within that level M, if they get a minus, it really means that they are at the very low level of the range within that test. So they're testing on a low end of level M. So the minus means, just think of minus mean like a lower end within that test, and that's where they're scoring. If you have a student that has a plus, it would really be the opposite of that. And I think you just said thank you, very welcome. So the plus would be, so let's say that you are administering the locator exam and a student located into level M, but they have a plus sign. I would highly recommend going to that next level, which is D, because you're not going to show gains within a level M for that particular student if they have a plus sign. And many programs need to show that level gain. So you would actually want them, you would place them into the, or they would test with the pre-test of level D and post-test with level D. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. Feel free to respond in the chat box if you have more questions about that. Moving forward, so let's just make sure I'm answering all the questions here. Okay, so another question, does the writing portion consist of a regular essay or something similar to the extended response? Yes, it does. So you will have a writing portion option that does, on average, consist of a regular essay similar to the extended response. So yes, and so that's something that's available. And actually, as a test administrator or as an educator out there, just becoming familiar with Tabe 11 and 12 writing, I highly recommend going in if you have access to Tabe online. It is available online right now, so you can go ahead and put yourself into the test of writing, and then you can go through the test to see what that looks like, and that will give you some really good insight into, of course, what your students will be testing when they use that writing test. And so that's also really good news if you already have the tape test online purchase and you are already using reading and write or reading um, reading language and math. You can also just start administering writing if that's something that your program needs. If you need that information, you can access that now. So if you're not familiar with how you purchase tabe 11 and 12 online, you're actually purchasing a bunch of subtests. So you can access any test from that bucket. Just, picture a bucket of subtests that you're purchasing. You can actually pull from that bucket and now test with writing as well. So thank you so much for your questions. Let's see. I don't see any other questions. Does anyone have any other questions? Again, feel free to reach out to me. I'm your consultant. I also work directly, of course, with the DRC TABE team. I work with, if you're familiar, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Mike Johnson. We also have Marcus Rip, which is our product director. So I work with them on a regular basis. And anything you need to know, feel free to reach out to me. And thank you so much for attending this webinar. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you and working with you again in the future. But I'll wait a minute or two. And Carrie, feel free, anything you want to add here, but I don't see any other questions in the chat box.
Thank you, Michelle. Would you mind stopping your screen share so I can throw up one more slide?
Absolutely. I should be no longer sharing. Okay, great.
All righty. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and thank you, Michelle. Have a great day, and don't forget trivia's next.